What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to another edition of Building the Board as we get you ready for this year's NFL Draft. I'm your host, Hailey Sutton. Now, last episode, we talked to you about that defensive line, how it's looking pretty strong coming back, but there are some areas of need on that defensive side of the ball, specifically at the linebacker position. The Cowboys brought back Leighton Vander Esch to be the quarterback of the defense, so to speak, but where can you improve in that area? And to get you ready for that, we're going to once again bring in our guy, Patrik "No C" Walker. Now, Patrik, the linebacker core was a position that benefited from a guy like Damone Clark, who came in and played some reps when he really wasn't supposed to, and he played really well. And then you had Leighton Vander Esch stepping in, Anthony Barr, who is now a free agent. But where does that position look as you head into this NFL draft?
Well, there has to be a lot of concern when it comes to this position for the Cowboys. Leighton Vander Esch, the re-signing of LVE, basically kept the Cowboys from being in dire straits at the linebacker position. So he's their saving grace for now. He combines with Damone Clark, as you mentioned, who, in my opinion, remains a possibility for being the steal of last year's draft. But behind Damone Clark, you don't know what you have there. Jabril Cox, he's far removed now from his torn ACL, but you don't know just yet if he can be that impact player. He's going to work to be it, but the Cowboys need to see it. Behind him, you have guys like Devontae Bond, Devin Harper, Malik Jefferson, but those are guys who struggled to get off of the practice squad last season. So the Cowboys look great when it comes to LB1 and LB2, being LVE and Damone Clark. Behind those two guys, you've got a lot of questions that need answering.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a position where there could be some more juice added in there just to bolster that room. And of course, when you look at the pick, the Cowboys do have pick number 26 as their first pick. Is that a position that you look at the linebacker, or do you say, let's go do that at a later time?
I think with the Cowboys being able to bring in a guy like Stephon Gilmore at cornerback to solidify that, now on defense, we talk about the re-signing of LVE, Dante Fowler, some of those other guys, Jonathan Hankins. Defensively, you're pretty set as far as those other positions. That allows you to look at linebacker as a potential grab at the 26th pick. Yes, we can talk about offensive line as well. That's a justifiable conversation. But if they were to go with linebacker in the back end of that first round, no one should be upset with them for doing so.
And the good news is there's plenty of linebackers to choose from in this year's draft. And to get into that, we go to our very own host of the draft show, Kyle Youmans.
Okay, Patrik, I'm not going to lie. You're kind of scaring me a little bit about the linebacker position. You said dire straits. Are the Cowboys in dire straits that they need to reach early on a Drew Sanders from Arkansas or maybe a Trenton Simpson from Clemson, or can they wait? Well, I've got good news for everybody at home. The Cowboys don't have to take one in the first round. If there's one there that they feel like can come in and start immediately, then great. That's okay. That's a good pick in the first round. If not, there's some guys on day 2 that I really like, maybe even stretching into day 3, including this guy, DeMarvion Overshown from Texas. Of course, we probably got a lot of Longhorn fans out there that have watched him play. He's not your normal looking linebacker. 6'3", 230 pounds. I mean, that's an edge rusher sort of build. I mean, for the most part, he brought up edge rusher sacks, 250 tackles. That's a linebacker stat. But 9 sacks, 6 forced turnovers throughout his time. But here's the thing, he started his career in Austin as a safety, so he's got good eyes and he can find his way into the backfield as well. Let's take a look at a couple of plays here. This is the way he likes to read a defense. This is against the run. You're going to see a quick run play, a little draw over here, and this is DeMarvion Overshown at the second level. Watch his eyes. Very quickly, he's going to hone in on right where this football goes. No lapse whatsoever. He waits for the blocks in front of him to develop. He works around and he shoots the gap, going right into that hole, which was a cutback lane for 26 here. He had an opportunity to cut back, not so fast. Here comes Zero, plug in the hole, and no big deal. He's taken down for a tackle for loss. That's something that Overshown did very well. He's also good in coverage. He was able to work as a tight end, work against tight ends rather, and he was able to stay sticky in coverage because of his transition from the safety spot. Here he is against TCU. Very similar play, but this is where the running back actually does cut back up the middle. Press play again. Here's another draw right here. Straight through, and he goes straight down the line of scrimmage. No such thing. Overshown scrapes across the back of that defensive tackle, and he makes a play. So while Overshown does have some safety versatility, he also has some ways to go as a linebacker. And I mentioned some of the ways that he read well at the second level. Well, he's also got to find a way to finish he's got to find a way to pick up receivers. Here he is. You can't see him right now, but right off the top of the screen, there's a tight end and there's a slot receiver. So out of that stack set, it gave Texas troubles because they didn't sort it out very well. Here we go. Let's go and press play. He's already checking to make sure that the slot receiver's covered. So he's out of the way. Here goes the tight end, and look how quick, and by lack of quick, I should say, look how slow he is going back. If we can go ahead and rewind all the way back, look how slow he is to take this first step. He's watching. He sees exactly where that tight end's going, but the ball was already halfway to the tight end on the outside by the time Overshown even had a chance to go and make the play. He does finish the tackles here, but he had 20 missed tackles in 2022. He had 18 missed tackles in 2021, and as a linebacker, if you're missing 20 tackles a year, that's not going to help your defense out a whole lot. You got to find a way to finish. You got to find a way to pick up some of those bunch sets. And if he's able to do so, I think there's a way that Overshown could fit in to a defense, specifically with the Cowboys. Might take a couple of years, but he's got starter potential, especially with the frame that he brings to the NFL.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounds like this is a guy who fits that Cowboys mold of coming in, learning from those who are in front of you, and then being an impact player down the stretch.
Yeah, and I think the best thing about him is that he does bring coverage ability. I mean, think about the day and age that we are in right now of the NFL. Linebackers are expected to do so much, and you can speak to that too, because you have to cover tight ends. You have to cover these running backs that are so good out of the backfield that if you don't have a linebacker that can cover those types of players, you're going to be behind the eight ball. Overshown could do that right now because he does have the coverage ability. It's all the other linebacker stuff that is teachable, the technician work that's going to be able to up his game once he gets to the pros.
I believe Overshown will do some damage at the NFL level, and I believe especially that will be true if you can combine him with what Dan Quinn can do. Overshown, as Hailey can attest, we spoke about him. He was one I drew a golden circle around pre-NFL Combine. I believe that his skill set would work out magnificently with the Cowboys. And again, this is someone that Texas Longhorns fans would love to see with the Cowboys, and I, for one, would cheer that on as well.
Yeah, I loved, too, getting to hear from him when he was at the Senior Bowl earlier this year. He spoke about not really having a favorite team, but to play for the Dallas Cowboys would be an honor. So I love that he plugged in that little America's team nugget there. Now, Kyle, from your perspective, this is not the only guy in the draft. I know you sprinkled a couple of names in there that we should pay attention to, but who are some other guys that should be on our radar?
Well, one other guy that the Cowboys have been linked to is DORIAN Williams out of Tulane. He's really an all-around linebacker. He does a little bit of everything. He can cover, he can tackle. He was everywhere for this Tulane team, and it really started showing up toward the back half of the season, but he also was one of the defensive MVPs of their Cotton Bowl win over USC, so he's shown it against Power 5 competition. The thing about Williams is that while he does everything on a solid playing surface already, he doesn't do anything over the top, so that's one of those other developmental guys. These aren't the day one prospects. Drew Sanders, Trenton Simpson, those guys are back half of the first round, early second round potentials because they bring everything to the table now. DORIAN Williams, DeMarvion Overshown. I'll even throw Deion Henley from Washington State into the mix as well. These are all developmental guys that can play significant snaps early on, but are probably going to slot in right around that third, fourth, fifth round in order to finally see their name called on draft weekend.
I'd be very interested to see just how intrigued the Cowboys might be by a guy like Drew Sanders.
Yeah.
Because being from Arkansas, obviously, it's no secret that's Jerry Jones' backyard.
Is it?
To and fro. You know, a little known secret, Arkansas Razorbacks has Jerry Jones' heart. That being said, outside of John Ridgeway getting the nod in the 5th round of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Cowboys haven't selected a player out of Arkansas previous to that. It was Felix Jones, 2008. Ooh. So that's a long time. Cowboys are very, very picky and decisive about when they pull the trigger on an Arkansas player.
And he's good enough to go in the first round and to fit in with this Cowboys team. Drew Sanders is a sideline-to-sideline player. He only played 1 year at linebacker, kind of like what we talked about with Overshown, except Overshown made the switch from safety. Drew Sanders made the switch from the edge rusher spot. He's a local product who played his high school ball at Denton Ryan High School in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And at Denton Ryan, he played quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, linebacker, safety, and edge rusher. So you want to talk about versatility, he's one that brings to the table.
I was going to say, we love a man with some versatility here in this building. All right, guys, thank you so much for that incredible analysis. That'll do it for this edition of Building the Board. For Kyle and Patrik, I'm Hailey, and we will see you next time.